Hey, aunties. It's Tracy from Chicago. What's the tea?
Rihanna is still savage.
Ask your aunties. Dickmatized.
And the political climate heats up. So get your cups ready for MinoriTea Report. Hey community, Auntie Carell here, and I know if you hear the sound of my voice at the beginning of the show, you know we probably experienced some technical difficulties. And so before we get into episode 33, we just wanted to send a sincere apology for the sound issues that we had throughout the episode. We experienced computer crashes, we experienced power outages all during the taping of this episode, but we still got through and delivered a great episode, and despite the circumstances, we really wanted to get an episode out this week. So, without further ado, here's episard 33. Another week, another dollar, as the world say.
Another week.
How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm good. You know, Auntie Hennessy has hit up a happy hour prior to this, so she had a couple drinks.
Oh, she's going to be extra lit in this episode.
Yeah, she ready to discuss. She got things to
all
say.
The topics. That's good.
But yes, no, I'm doing great. I'm happy. Like, it's Wednesday. We're recording on a Wednesday, but I'm telling you that Tuesday it was rough yesterday.
It was rough for me too.
It was rough, and it reminded me just back of like May, April when I was going through my depression and anxiety, and all of a sudden it started to hit again. And I was like, damn, I thought I was getting through this, but it's, again, I just have to remind myself that depression and anxiety it's a long game. It's not a short-term thing. It's something that it is a disease. It's something that you have to battle for a long period of time, for possibly the rest of your life,
Mm-hmm.
So I got that dose of reality yesterday, and today was a struggle, but this is my therapy. So I'm loved. I'm here with my sisters.
Aww.
And
we got you, boo.
I'm happy. Yes, I'm
Same
happy and
here.
blessed. So yes,
I know. And we already had like a show before the show on this episode. Oh, Lord. And then Dewan's over there in Montana.
I know. Montana. I think about when French Montana be like, Montana, on like any record that he'd be like on.
That's it. Ooh,
that's all I can
Montana,
think about.
Take me back to, ooh, Montana. That's that Justin Timberlake for y'all that didn't listen to that last album.
Nah, Marlboro Man, you can keep it to yourself. Pass.
2020 was a dope-ass album. The 2020 experience was good, and it was not necessarily a pop album. There was a lot of black influences, a lot of jazz and black music in that album, and it was dope. It was dope. But this Man in the Woods stuff,
I didn't mind it.
I don't know.
It wasn't his best album, but I just love that he went back to Pharrell.
It was his worst album.
He went back to, let me think. Was it his worst album?
I mean,
his worst album might have been the second of the...
Sound, because Future Sex Love Sound is banging. Because that's his first album he did with Pharrell.
Right.
And that whole album...
that album's with Timberland, because they got in a falling out.
Yes, you're right, Timberland.
Yeah.
Yes, with Timberland. That album is dope as fuck.
Oh, for sure. That's probably his best one.
Yeah, Justified, I think he did with the Neptunes with Pharrell,
I'm just a nerd with the production stuff. So Justified was like both Timberland and Pharrell. But then what happened is his record label got folded into another record label, which banned him from working with Pharrell until literally this last album again. So this Man in the Woods album was all Pharrell except for Filthy, which was Timbo and Danger. But Future Sex Love Sounds was probably his best album. Justified is up there. The I forget of the 2020 experience. One of them was better than the other, and that was
the second album was better.
The second one might have been even though I did like Strawberry Bubblegum.
That Strawberry Bubblegum.
Ooh, that's a good song.
That's a good song. That's actually one of me and Physic's favorite songs.
Oh, right?
Strawberry Bubblegum. Yeah.
Issa and I always send each other that song. Like whenever we think of that song, Issa and I send each other a text saying, "Ooh, chewing on that Strawberry Bubblegum."
Ooh, strawberry.
I don't know how we got Justin, but anyway, Dewan, you're in Montana. Oh, that's how. You're in Montana. So how's Montana? Montana is on my list to get to.
I'm in Bozeman, Montana, and it's just a super cute little town. I guess from what I understand, John Mayer lives here. And
he does.
Yeah, and then I think also
Timberland.
Oh, leave him alone. That's too funny.
But no, it's super cute. They have like this downtown area on Main Street where it just had tons of bars, and we did a little bit of thrifting today. I'm a little bit surprised, but absolutely just amazed at how open and it's really affirming. Even though I saw one black person. Was
it the mirror? Were you in the mirror?
No, girl. She was out there doing some work.
It was the man in the mirror.
So it's me and two people.
You know they were trying to apply for them grants, them government grants. As soon as y'all landed, like, hey, we got more black folks in here now.
Facts. They said the 2020 census coming up.
Okay, look.
Oh man, does the air feel different? Like, does the air smell different? Especially come from New York City.
Everything is different.
Yeah.
First of all, you are surrounded 360 degrees by mountains.
Yeah.
So everywhere you look, you see these huge rolling hills and large peaked mountains with snow on the top. Just in the background everywhere.
So it's like a Brokeback Mountain scenario.
Girl, yes.
Here for it.
Just lick your two fingers and then do what it do.
Oh.
I think DeWanda sold us something personal. Okay. Well then.
The more you know.
Da, 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 da.
But you know what's funny is they get crazy weather out here because by the time this airs on Monday, they will have had the temperature will have dropped from 76 to a high of 33 and snow over the course of the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
To the mountain.
I long for
the mountain.
33 right
like
now.
In Seattle, so we're on the other side of the mountains, and so we don't get that crazy snow because of the ocean and how everything's come off of the ocean. But once it hits the mountains and it goes on the other side, everything picks up and it runs. So like I know like when we get like heavy rain, like that Midwest Chicago rain that that we're all used to. If we get that in Seattle in the wintertime, I know that by the time it gets to the Midwest, it's going to be snow because it picks up so much. It picks up crazy. So crazy. So
Atlanta is still in the 90s. Like we're having record-setting heat in September. Like I think I saw today that this is day 82 or 83 of 90-degree weather we've had this summer, and the record is 90. That was set in 2011.
Oh, wow.
So we're almost on a record of just record heat for the summer. And then it's a record heat for the month of September. The amount of days that we've been above 90 degrees. Today was 95 degrees still. Like, it's been insane.
You can keep that.
You
can keep that. We don't get that here.
I'm going insane. I am literally starting to go insane.
It was a sunny 68 degrees, but because of the elevation and the pure sunshine, it probably felt like a 75.
Oh, I'm jealous.
But there's no humidity here. It's nice and it's cute. It's cute here.
I would highly recommend Bozeman, Montana, if you are looking for like a quick getaway. Gay, straight, family, no family, etc.
Adam, my partner, he's been so jealous because he's been wanting to come out west for a very long time, and this trip kind of came up kind of last minute. And I've been sending him snaps and pictures and things like that. And he's just like, oh my gosh, I want to go there so badly.
Let's do a girls trip to Bozeman. I'm so in. I'm all the way in.
I had to drive through Bozeman to come here.
Say it again, Jharrel?
When I drove from Minneapolis to Seattle when I moved here at the end of 2017, I had to drive through Bozeman.
Oh,
so I stayed with my family. Yeah, I stayed with
we talked about that here on the podcast.
Yeah, I stayed with my friend. And got lit. That's what I was telling you guys about. Like, I went to the bar and I was like, top shelf, all these drinks for $15? Rack them up. Bozeman is cute on many levels. If you don't like the scenic stuff, if you like me and you like to just stay in, you don't do nature, you don't do bugs and stuff like that, you can also drink and have a good time. A good time.
So we might have to put that on the 2020, like, Aunties on the road, itinerary.
Kind of like Oprah and Gail.
We should do that.
We do an Oprah and Gail road trip.
Right.
We should do an Aunties trip. Where like or aunties vacations where like people in the community be like, oh, aunties, you guys should go check out this place. We hear like this is a gay friendly place, or this is beautiful,
I'm so
blah, blah,
in.
blah, blah. And we go and we meet up, and we report back to the community like, community, we are live in
Right.
Bozeman, Montana. Like just, like doing like a little report,
Exactly. Hot tea, cold tea,
Yes.
auntie style. I'm here for
Yeah.
it.
That
I'm
would
so
be
here
super
for it.
cute.
Let's make that happen. Who we could get some like freaking traveler miles? Who's a flight attendant that could give us the hookup on some tickets? Alaskan Air or Delta or somebody. We gotta come on, community, hook us up. Let's make this happen.
I mean, I know
Oh,
a couple
man.
of pilots. I got some friends that are pilots
Okay.
for
nice.
Delta.
Oh, word.
Mhm.
Okay, now let's get the hook up here.
I mean,
Let's figure this out.
It's going to be hard already. Like, we're going to have to figure this out because between the three of us, we're rarely in our own cities, let alone,
Girl.
trying
Facts.
to coordinate another trip. I know these
Facts.
next couple of weeks, like the next 6 weeks, is just heavy travel. And then obviously, like, you have the holidays coming up in
Yeah.
like November and December. So it's going to be
Oh, and
crazy.
speaking of the holidays, I'm glad you brought that up. Community, we need your help. So we're going to probably do like some kind of end of the year moment. And we want to know your favorite segments, your favorite quotes, whatever it might be throughout the first however many episodes. Probably by that point be the first 40 episodes or so. So we could do a best of episode at the end of the year. Obviously, with the holidays, we might take a week or two off here, but we'll still want to have some kind of episode for you. So start hitting us up in DMs and comments and everything on your favorite segments, moments, speck of peppers and sea of salt quotes. And we'll put a best of a couple episodes at the end of the year around the holidays.
Yeah, what were the moments that where you drove off the road? That's what
Right.
we want.
That's what we want.
and live to tell about it. And live to tell
Facts.
about it at that.
And hopefully you're not fumbling with your phone too much on
Right.
the road while you're listening to us.
Right.
Put them phones down.
Yeah. But also thank you to Tracy.
Thank you, Tracy, for the opening.
Thanks, Tracy. You better come on, open up, girl.
And she said, "What's the tea?"
Open sesame
Yes.
with that tea.
Yes, that's my girl from Chicago. Thank you, girl.
Yeah.
Okay, now
Shout
Chi-Town.
Oh, come on, Chi-Town. Ow.
We always love our little community moments. It's our part of the show that we just love you doing. So
Yeah,
I'll keep it
absolutely.
popping. Like every time we get them, we are so impressed with all the stuff, the work that y'all put into these intros. I mean, you get it live, you put a little sizzle and salt into it and make it really poppin'. So thank you for doing that.
And I was just going to say, too, like, if you've already done one, do another one and put some
Yeah.
extra stank and some extra funk on it. Because
Exactly.
cause now it's growing. It's becoming, like,
Yes.
something really big and part of the episode. And we really want everyone in the community to feel like they've been heard. So if you felt like yours was, like a
Subpar.
Maychella, if you thought yours was Maychella and you want a Baychella intro, then record it. Redo
you
it
go.
and send it in, and put some spice on it.
Put some lorries on it.
Put them, not some lorries, girl. Oh, that reminds me, I need to go buy some. Thank you.
Right. It's funny. Like before I dated Corey, like I obviously once we started dating and we moved in together, blah blah blah. I had to have lorries on hand, and he didn't really use lorries or didn't know what lorries is. But then on his end, there's like a Greek spice seasoning that's similar to lorries, honestly.
Is it the yellow kind? Is it yellow?
It's the yellow yeah.
Yes. Okay, so
Seriously.
Fisnick has the same thing.
And it's
I was like,
bomb.
that's Lori. It's bomb. It's
It is
so
bomb.
bomb. It's so bomb.
There's a yellow one and there's a green one, and he uses both of them.
Mhm.
And it's bomb. So it's just interesting that each culture had its
Yeah.
own like lorries or its own
It's
seasoned
basically
salt.
the Lorries. It really is.
The more you know again.
The more you know. That's why I don't have any, because Fisnick we have a big jar of the yellow one.
And it's bomb. It is bomb.
And it's really close, but you can still
Yes.
you can taste the difference a little bit, because I feel like the European one is a little bit more saltier than like herb seasoned than the Lorries.
Yeah,
is. Like,
it's a little different. Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
still
so-
bomb. It still works.
it
So,
is.
yeah.
It is so good. We use it on everything.
Right.
So,
I put that shit on everything. But speaking of popping too, I was gonna say, did you guys watch that Fenty? I don't even
the
know
Savage
what to
by
call
Fenty.
it. Fashion show, lingerie show / concert.
Died and came back to life 80 times.
Right?
Okay, so let me tell y'all. I watched this and I loved everything about it. I loved it so much that I wanted to buy something, and I was like, "This shit ain't for me." So you know what I did? I texted my sister, who has always been like my baby doll.
Uh-huh.
Like My sister who has the kids, she's always put together, always right. She's beautiful, gorgeous, tall, everything. And so whenever like I see cute stuff, like I always just buy it for her. Like I'm like, because I think women clothing is just beautiful.
Way better.
I love women clothing.
They have more options.
More options, everything. And I don't necessarily want to wear it, but I still just want to be like, I want to see someone in this, like this in my mind. So my sister Ro is she's my Barbie doll. So I text her and I go, so I just watched the Savage by Fenty runway fashion show. And I was like, what you want? And she was like, what's that? And I was like, what do you mean, what's that?
What's that? Right.
What? I was like, honey, you need to Google this you need to Google this right now. Like right now. And then she called me. She was like, this shit is cute.
Yes.
She's like, you want to buy this for me? I was like, yeah, I want to buy this for you. She's like, I was like, wait, is it weird? Because I know it's lingerie.
Right. Is it awkward?
I was like, is it weird? Is it weird? But I was like, but I also want you, because you single, I want you to get a man. I want you to have your Prince Charming, like I'm always looking out for my sisters, like all of my siblings. I want all my siblings, to be thriving,
Yeah.
So she was just, oh yeah, okay, I want this, and this. And I was like, okay, cool, boom. There's your Christmas gift.
There you go.
That was my way of Christmas shopping. I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy you this for Christmas. Here's some Fenty makeup and some Savage clothing.
There you go.
Oh,
boom.
for sure.
There's your birthday and your Christmas gift.
As much as we talk about Beyonce on this podcast, I feel like we haven't done the due diligence of like speaking up about Rihanna. She's doing the damn thing as well. And once again, it's just awesome to see someone highly melanated. It doesn't even have to be a black person. You're just a person of color in the community, repping for all creeds, all sizes, all shapes, all colors, all like gender, sexual identity, all the above, and make that shit lit as hell, popping as hell. The concert was dope. The clothes was dope. The makeup was dope. Like it was everything. Like it felt like the Beachella of like lingerie.
Victoria's Secret was mad as
hella mad.
Fuck. They were mad, and they're trying to figure out how do we get back on top.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna tell you, it's too late. There's no way. There's no way, because you think Victoria's Secret and you think this one shape, this one size, and this one type of person, and that is it. But Savage came out thinking inclusive for everybody off the back, and you don't have to worry. And I mean, there was one part where there was like this blue lingerie where like it was like a bra, and then it kind of came down to like this mesh kind of thing that came down over like these blue panties. And like the first person came out was a little bit thin and had a disability, and then they walked around the horseshoe. The next person came back was a little bit bigger and then walked around the horseshoe, and the next person came out was a little bit bigger than that person. And then the big girl came out, she was like bam, bam,
I was
bam.
like, yes, mama.
That part right there literally had me clapping, because I was just like, because they all wore the exact same piece of clothing, and they all looked good.
And had like an amputee in there. Like,
I was like,
she had everybody. And then she had like
You
Laverne.
know what was interesting about it is that it didn't feel inauthentic.
Right.
Yeah.
There are other shows that are out there where they literally use people of color. They use people that are disabled. They use people that are plus size, or what they call plus size.
Right.
But it that it's not coming from a place of authenticity. And what I so appreciate, outside of just the pure entertainment of it all, and the fact that it's great quality, great execution, like just from a fashion perspective. But what I really appreciate about what Rihanna's been able to do is she's busting doors down.
Seriously.
When people said that it would not sell, she put it out there and showed that it sold. That's exactly what Fenty was doing. She introduced a whole slew, 40 shades that never existed before. And now all of a sudden
everybody want to do it.
But more importantly, what we see, not only with the big, like these old dogs that have been in the game for a while that are trying to catch up, but what we see is that she's opened the door. It's like the first person to run a 4-minute mile. They said it couldn't be done. But then when somebody did it, then people started doing it left and right.
Juices of others keep going. Yeah.
I love that reference.
All these amazing new brands that are, owned by people of color, owned by women, owned by people that, are repping their sets. that now have the courage because you have somebody like Rihanna who did it first.
Did you just say repping your sets like you was from the hood? That was hard as hell. Come on now, Dewan.
Girl.
Like, that might be the suburbs, but
like every Lil Jon song just popped up in my head.
So did you guys watch it on YouTube or did you watch it on Amazon Prime?
I watched it on Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime.
Okay, so I loved the beginning of it because you also saw like in the first 15 minutes of all that she did to be a part of it.
And how quick they had to do it too.
I love that she was like 10 days before, she was like, oh, I love this choreography. Can I do that?
Right.
Can I do this? 10 days before the show. And she learned the opening choreography of that. And I was just like, damn.
It just got my creative juices flowing. Like, I love seeing shit like that where it's just like, I haven't seen this before. And then it's just like, it makes me think, okay, what can we do with this, like, podcast? And, like, it just literally, I was sitting there and Corey just like, shut up, Carell. Because I was like, oh, I want to do this, and I want to do this, and oh, have I thought about this? It just literally fills me with such joy to see stuff like that, especially when it's from someone in our community, you know, and specifically like people of color or LGBTQIA plus communities that like we just haven't always gotten this opportunity to shine. And it's always been there. It hasn't been that we couldn't do it. It's that the doors were slammed shut for so long because it was only CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox. And so you got to think for decades, for hundreds of years, and then obviously with slavery and things like that, oppression. But then now you just have like the Amazon Primes and Netflixes. There's so many avenues now to get your ideas and creativity to feel included and seen now. And so I was just sitting there like, I don't have the words to articulate like the feeling I had watching it. And it was the same feeling I got when I saw Beachella. There was the same feeling, you know, just like a lot of the Beyonce stuff that I see. There's a lot of the Missy stuff that I see was the same thing I was getting from this Rihanna thing, that it's just like, she's doing something different and it's inclusive of everyone.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree. No, it was everything.
But yeah, it did make me want a piece or two. I was like, ooh, can I get away with that?
It's weird. Like we talked about this last week. I'm not into drag, but if I could, I would love to be just born a woman and just or be into drag and just be able to perform a number or just live in it and just be.
Do it, boo. We got you. What they gonna say? They ain't gonna say nothing.
No, I just don't want to. That's just not who I am.
Gotcha.
You know, I'm saying I wish I lived a life where that is where I felt or wanted to be, if that makes sense.
Right.
Because I genuinely love the clothing.
Same here.
It just wasn't for me. The clothing is not for me as far as who I am, but I just thought it was beautiful. And I just want other people to appreciate it.
What's his name? Jonathan Van Ness from like the Queer Eye. I love that he is so fearless about wearing skirts and dresses. I'm the same way. Like I don't foresee myself ever wearing a skirt or a dress or anything just because I don't feel like wearing a skirt or a dress. But I just love seeing people that said, "Hey, it's a beautiful skirt. It's a beautiful dress." So I wore it. And it's literally that matter of fact.
And can we also talk about how he came out and talked about how he's living with HIV?
Which I so glad he did.
I had no idea, and I'm so glad he did too. And I just think with everything like the message that the show poses, you know, trying to display and the importance of that show and the recognition that show is getting.
Yes.
You know, like, and then to have someone that's unrelated, that's on a huge platform as well, that literally so many freaking people love. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've just seen like straight people alone be like, I love me some Jonathan Van Ness. Oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
And then for him to come out with something like this, it's just like, God, it just helps with the stigma that the people that you like, just people who you love
and adore.
but just the point of like the people you love can also just be living with it, and guess what? You don't love them any differently. You know, it shouldn't take for it to be someone that you love for you to be like, be you, boo, be you, or to have an acceptance to it. You know, but I'm glad that it's someone on the big platform that people do love to kind of push that forward and get other people to realize, oh,
it's like, well, damn, it's not what I thought it looked like.
You know, there have been people out there who have pushed the envelope before. Like, I think of Sylvester. Sylvester was, you know, in the 70s, you know, you make me feel.
Okay, now don't get me started. My body feel. Oh, I'm over here shimmy my shoulders. Come on now.
But if you know anything about Sylvester, you know, he expressed himself gender non-conforming.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be called a drag queen. He didn't want to be called a cross-dresser. He didn't want to be called a trans woman. He was gender non-expressive. You know, so there are people that are out there. And let's not forget, this was the 70s, and he was madly accepted.
Yeah. Well, to an extent, right.
But but certainly as an entertainer, he was not limited with what he could potentially do in terms of his craft, because he was just so immensely talented. He had such great charisma, and he was unapologetically him. Yeah. So there have been people like that have existed before. And I don't say this to take away from the shine of Jonathan, but I do think there are people that are out there that teach us and show us what it's like to live your truth. And we need those people every single day.
I agree. So even someone like an EJ, like EJ Johnson, like you see his Instagram. His Instagram is the most fabulous Instagram out there. And it's awesome because he's well known. Like, his dad is Magic Johnson. Like, you know, and for him to be that fabulous, and then also to see his family support him with his fabulosity, for that fabulosity, you know, I love a T-ism that just popped out there. It's just awesome. And even from the JVNs and the EJs and Sylvesters, it's just cool to see people just living in their truth, especially for Jonathan, because he's on a show talking to people, trying to get them to live their truth. So I'm sure it was a heavy weight for him the last 2 years, is how big that show has gotten and how big he's gotten, to be like, wow, you don't know this piece of me yet. Yeah. And so I'm sure the weight that's lifted from him now, he's like, bitch, watch me really fly now. So I'm here for it. So you equals you. We need to preach that probably more on our platform as well.
Absolutely.
I'm glad that came out this week for sure.
On the topic of all that, did you guys watch the Emmys though as well?
Yes. Shout out to Billy Porter and Jharrel Jerome. Come on now.
Yes, Billy. Woo. And to Jharrel Jerome. Okay, look, community.
And RuPaul. I can't forget RuPaul.
Hold on.
How can I forget
Yes, the second. Okay, so listen here, community. So if those of you guys who follow us, or at least follow me through MinoriTea Report, will notice that I changed my Facebook name. Okay. I changed it because I'm a high school coach, and I do not want my players following me on social media. And so I changed it to my freaking government name. Okay. Well, at least part of my government name. All right. Because she black, so she got several. So I forgot that Jharrel Jerome was the name that he put out. But I don't also know, is that his actual government name, or is that his acting name?
I feel like that's his government name.
Well, anyways, I changed mine. He spells it different, but regardless, you say it exactly the same, Jharrel Jerome.
Yeah.
Okay. And he took my shine from my new name on Facebook. And on top of that, growing up, when I would hear the words Jharrel Jerome, I knew my ass was in trouble. Yeah, exactly. So hearing everyone praise Jharrel Jerome, I'd be like, it was never nice for me. It was never a celebration of doing something right. My ass was in trouble. But I still, nonetheless, it is amazing for him to win that. I mean, we said it. We said it when we were recapping When They See Us, and said that he deserves that Emmy, and he deserves an Oscar for it. He killed that role. So I am happy. I am beyond happy. I'm never going to toe down one of our people, our brothers. But I'm a little bummed though. I'm a little bummed. I feel like
I was tearing up watching it, just because before he got that when When They See Us had lost some of the categories for like supporting actress and supporting actor, and Ava had lost out on the directing thing. So I was like, I don't think they're gonna recognize this series. Wow. Then it came down to that one, and he got it, and I was like, thank you, Lord, because just the story of what it all entails, they still deserve to be seen and heard, and this story to be told. So if you guys have not seen that, When They See Us, you're late, A. And then B, you still have time to go out there on Netflix and watch it, because it was just well acted, well told, but the story still happens day in, day out, and it's a story that needs to still be visible out there.
I was mad about some of those losses. I'm not gonna lie.
Same here.
From When They See Us. Yeah. Like,
what's the nuclear place? It starts with a C.
Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they won a lot.
To be fair, I'm not gonna shit on Chernobyl, because it's actually a really good documentary, a really good miniseries on HBO. And when I watched it, Fiznik was able to talk to me about his family members that lived through it, because the nuclear waste came all the way down to Albania and Kosovo, where his family grew up. So they were part of the radiation that seeped through so much of Europe. So it was cool. Yeah, it was cool to see, well, not cool, but it was interesting to see how much of an impact that this had on a global standpoint. But for me personally, I just related way more to When They See Us. But if you have not seen Chernobyl, it's actually really good. And the way that the characters go through, and you see people with radiation, and Lord Jesus, girl, it's good. It's good too. But When They See Us just punches you in the gut on a whole different level.
It does. It
really does.
And then he won, and then RuPaul won. And so people are kind of upset with Ru right now, just because they think that his behind the scenes producers and things like that isn't representative of him. Honestly, there's not a lot of color. There's a lot of LGBTQIA. And so that's kind of been a whole up in arms thing right now this week. But a lot of people have been sticking up for him. Like Monet Exchange have been sticking up, because she's literally the the scene people, the people that lotion up the drag queens, the ones that are taking them to the bathroom, this and that. She's there's a lot of women, there's a lot of color behind there that you're not seeing maybe on the stage that night. But she's there are a lot of people, and a lot of the even there was a Hispanic lady that was one of his main executive producers up there as well. So when that question got asked, she was standing there okay, look at me, what are you talking about? But then after Ru won was Billy Porter.
Yes. And the message is love. The message is love. Ooh. Love, 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 love.
And I was just so
happy for
I'm
Billy
about to
Porter.
Boo-hoo.
Honestly, I'm so happy, and it's about fucking damn time. And to be honest, and I do not want to take away from Billy Porter, but I still feel like there were still women in that show that deserve to be nominated, and there were still parts of that show that should have been recognized and nominated that was not. And it felt like this was the more acceptable escape route to calm people down and give them what they want, but also not ruffle any fucking feathers for the damn Emmys.
And someone asked him that question behind the scenes.
I could see the business. I could just see the business format behind it, and it just upset me. I wanted Billy Porter to win, but there's other people there that should have been fucking winning too. And it's the same kind of When They See Us. Jharrel Jerome should have won, but there are other people there that should have. To be honest, Niecy Nash and fucking When They See Us.
Yeah. Who had her titties all out, by the way. You see her?
She sure did. She sure did.
That's for
But
sure.
I mean, you can't tell me there's not a single black woman that does not come to mind when you think about Niecy Nash's character. There are just so many women in my own family that I can think of, or just women in passing that I've worked with that just represent who her character was. And I'm I see this person, I see this person, I see this person. It was just so relatable on just the job that she did, and I feel like it was just overlooked. I really do.
Yeah.
But
But Billy, like someone like. Once again, I think the community is just going to learn that I'm a nerd. I just like learning how shit works. I like the behind the scene things, blah, blah, blah. And so I watched Billy Porter in his press interview after he won. And someone asked a similar question about that, saying, hey, we feel like the other people on your show might have been overlooked for a nomination or should have won as well, et cetera, et cetera. And he's like, A, this is for the whole show. B, he's like, even if it takes me to open the door is open now. They cannot unsee us. Like, we are here. And he's like, and we got a season 3 coming, so watch out. And he shut it down. And like, he was like, I get what you're saying, but he's like, sometimes it does have to take these moments that even if you might not be the most quote unquote deserving, someone might have outacted you, et cetera, but now you cannot unsee this show. You cannot unsee me. And I got this door open now.
Yeah,
and we got another season coming.
But it's a different thing when we're talking about shows being on air and then the awards that should be given. Because we know that we've seen plenty of times in the Oscars where there should have been people of color nominated for Best Actress or Best Actor.
Right.
And we'd be like, where are all the people of color in the fucking Oscars, you know? Like, or even the Grammys, you know? Like, we see in these award shows where they deliberately leave out people of color. And I think that's where those questions come from. And I think that's why those questions need to continue to be answered. Because it's like, a lot of people do the work because think about it now, like, before 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago in the 90s, for instance, if you didn't win an Oscar, it did not say on Blockbuster, nominated for an Oscar.
Right,
it said you won a fucking Oscar.
Right.
Now they gotten to the point where they say nominated for an Oscar.
Right.
Okay.
Oscar
So being nominated matters.
Yeah,
it freaking matters. So when they shut down that argument about not being nominated, we need to be even louder because it does. Those numbers do matter, and people get better jobs, get better representation when they see that their work is being appreciated on a higher platform.
And I think he was saying the same thing. Like, I think it was on that same vein, but I think he was just saying since they weren't nominated, so in the present, since they're not nominated and I won, we have another season coming, so y'all better watch out for them.
Sure.
You know?
I was just saying for like people who didn't understand, or for people who didn't think that this stuff matters, it does matter.
Right.
It does matter for their craft. It most certainly
does. For representation and visibility. Like,
two biggest things if you're not getting nominated, guess what? You're not getting casted.
Yeah. That's true.
So if we want the representation to go up, we need to get these nominations. We need to get people to actually give a damn and see us.
Visibility. Another T-ism there. I hear you, boo. But yeah, so, and one thing I do want to call out too, Jharrel Jerome is of Black and Hispanic origin. So like he's Afro, is it Dominican or Puerto Rican?
Dominican.
So he's covering multiple communities that need to be seen and visible going forward. And he's 21. He's only 21. Like, that's crazy. He's the youngest lead actor of that category ever to win.
I love it.
That's awesome. That's huge.
I love it.
So,
and we share a name. Ow. He won, I won.
Oh, now she on board. Now that she got it off her chest, now she on board.
Don't judge me. Don't judge me. I can be on both sides of the fence, okay? I am the fence.
That's okay, Auntie Hennessy.
I am the beginning and the end.
Y'all heard that?
Ain't that what Mufasa said? He said that in Lion King. He's like,
I thought that was the Bible.
No, like he says, like, I thought he said, like, I am the beginning and the end.
I don't think he said I'm the beginning and the end.
I am the something. I am the something. I am the something. Because he talks to Simba about being king.
Right. I think he said, look into the stars and I will always be there.
No,
with you,
but
Simba.
before then he talks about being the beginning and then being something because he talked about being king. This is like after the whole hyena situation and everything. Yeah.
I don't know.
I have to look that up. I have to look that again.
Right.
But yeah. Yeah.
So here's your favorite part of the show all the time it seems to be. And what is it? It's Ask Yo Auntie.
Ow.
Oh man, who's gonna read it this week for us? Who got it up?
Oh, I can read it. I can read her. I can read her all the time. Okay, so this question is from Drew. Okay, Drew from Minneapolis, and she goes, "Aunties, I have to ask you, aunties. I read a quote yesterday that shook me to my core. Good dick from the wrong guy will fuck you up."
Ooh.
Now, my question is, what if you were so dickmatized by the wrong guy, you let the right guy leave, and now they are engaged to someone else? Aunties, what y'all got?
Good dick from the wrong guy will fuck you up. That is a quote. Because we all been there, done that, sucked on it, and moved on.
She said sucked on it and moved on.
I'm sorry. You know what, Mom? If you're listening, oh Jesus.
But I mean, if it's
Lord
good dick,
help
are
me.
you moving
Fast
on?
forward.
If it's good dick, are you moving on though?
I'm moving on. Come on, Maya.
Honestly, like the I don't know, like it feels like the bottom line of it is, what do you want? Like, what do you really, really want? Because some people think they want a relationship, they think they want, the man that got away, but really what they want is they want to keep on doing what they're doing. So if you're that dickmatized, clearly what you want
is dick.
dick.
See, I'm different though. I'm different. I don't
He
think
said,
that
clearly
way.
what you want is dick.
Like we've all had good sex and we've had bad sex. Okay,
Yes.
so like I understand that mind-blowing sex can be on your mind to the point like even if you're just like relieving yourself, you might think about those experiences.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like so, like there is a good dick is a real thing.
That is
Okay.
true.
It is a real thing. And
No arguments there.
you can definitely be confused by dick because of the joy and the pleasure that it brings. You most certainly can. You most certainly can.
Oh, okay.
Now, how you
And
can
for all the tops out there saying, "Oh no," but good dick and ass, like just good sex all together. Lump that into one sum. If you're like, "Oh, I'm total top ball humbug," okay, mask, whatever. Get that out.
I mean, I guess it's the
But
same
with
as a good
all the
booty
above.
hole. It's the same as a good hole.
Right, exactly. All lumped into one thing. When you just had something that was so good that you like, woo.
Good sex. It's good
Even
sex.
when
I mean,
it's-
we have a lot of female listeners. And,
Exactly.
Right.
So
Good
it's not
sex.
just
Yeah.
like
It's
the gay
good
thing.
vag,
it's
good
good
titties,
sex.
good whatever.
It's good sex.
All the above.
But I don't know. Like, I just... This is why this might be TMI. But I'm going to put this out there. When I date, I'm not sexual with the person that I date until after we're in a relationship because I like to have a foundation. Fiznik and I, we went 6 months. We didn't do any of that until 6 months after being in a relationship. Because we wanted a foundation of us, and we wanted clarity as far as who the individual was and what we were bringing to the table, and that we loved each other on something more than just something physical. Because
Right.
that's the stuff that lasts.
No, I agree.
And so I think you have to prioritize what you want out of life. Like you guys were just saying, like you just want dick. I think you just need to make sure that you're smarter going into any situation, whether it's and that isn't even just a hookup, but maybe you just take that off the table and you just go as far as who are you and what you want out of life. And you make sure it's prioritized as far as what your end game is, because
Right.
the instant satisfaction may not be as great as the end goal.
That's true. And that's why a lot of people tell you to wait till marriage. And that's why I think a lot of that obviously comes from the Bible too. But
Yeah, they
that's
do
why
say
a lot
wait till marriage. Absolutely.
That's why a lot of old school folks say to wait, because they know that a lot of people are not emotionally intelligent enough and mature enough to handle the situation. If you get into this good sex situation where the person, yes, they might be bringing you gratification sexually, but they might be abusing you emotionally, or they're not ready to be in a relationship, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why a lot of times people tell you to wait, because a lot of time, and a lot of us aren't mature enough sexually to know what to do in these situations that ends up being a good situation for yourself personally. But I mean, we've been there, and you got to learn. You got to get through it, and also learn that it's not just about that, especially once you get into long-term relationships, because it spends years with a human being. Sometimes that good dick might be the only thing that's keeping you staying, and you're just wasting years of your life, honestly. You know? And that's not good either. There's other dick in the sea.
Yeah, but all dick ain't goat dick, though. Just be careful.
That's true, too. That is true, too,
some
though.
are poisonous.
I kind of read this as a scenario where, like, you know, you're out there living your life, doing whatever, and, you know, you're not ready for anything serious. And it's not to say it has to be a relationship or whatever, but, you know, you're just not ready for anything serious, something that could be a relationship. And then in the midst of you doing your thing, you realize what you want, and you've had it with that person, and that person, you know, you kind of like, we've all been there. You reach out to them, you send them a text message like, hey, what's up? How are you? And they're like, oh, life is good. I'm in a relationship now. You're like, you do a double take, like, oh, damn, I really missed out. I missed out. I don't know if we can all relate to that situation. And it doesn't necessarily mean like you know, are, you know, there's anything wrong with like being promiscuous or, you know, just having sex or living your life and having a good time, whatever. And there's nothing wrong with being dickmatized. But I do feel like if you were really ready for that person, they would not have gotten away. You know what I mean? So, and something else can be true. Maybe they got away so that you could learn a lesson. So, you know, I look at it as two different ways. You know, maybe you weren't ready. It's a situation where you just weren't ready for that person, you know, but maybe at the same time, you needed that person to get away from you, or something that you think was good for you, get away from you, so that it helps you kind of like zero in on what's really important for you.
So can we ask the second part to this question then?
What's the second part of this question?
Which is, should I have to compromise with what I want out of life with what I want in the bedroom? Is it possible to find both?
Yes, absolutely. I think it is. And I think that just goes back to that emotional maturity as well. Sometimes you have to be mature enough and know exactly what you want out of life to attract that. And if you're only looking for good dick and ass, that's all you're going to get, and you're not going to get the full picture. You're not going to get the whole being. But if you literally put it out there that that's what you want, it's just a law of attraction. Like, I know people say that and it sounds so easy, and it's not. But I think you need to find that emotional and sexual maturity in a human being, or it's just not going to work, and you're not going to be as satisfied as you want to be.
I'm struggling a little bit with some of the words that are being used. Like, I'm struggling with the word compromise, like, because it can mean a person thinking about their making compromises could be, you know, truly that they are acquiescing, they're giving up something that is really important for them, like, you know, a certain kind of sexual preference
or position.
or, you know, or location, or whatever it is, they're giving that up because that's not something that is a preference of their partner. And so that, in that way, that's a compromise. But in some ways, you can be giving something up that is extremely important to you, you know, for the sake of the other person. And that's acquiescing. Like, that's giving up. That's giving over. And I don't know, I struggle a little bit with that term. Because I don't think, let me put it this way. I think people should be open to the idea that they and their preferences and their ideals have the opportunity to grow over time. And sometimes growth means experiencing something that is out of the norm for you, and it challenges you. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to adopt whatever that new thing is, but it gives you a different perspective that allows you to grow as a human being and as a sexual being. So the idea of a compromise, to me, is problematic as a word, because it doesn't really capture like what I think a lot of people think of when they think of compromise. And it's really like, I like having sex doggy style all the time, and he likes to do it missionary. And so do I have to do it missionary all the time because that's what he wants?
Right.
Versus a true compromise is sometimes we do it doggy style, sometimes we do it missionary.
Sometimes we do it in the morning, sometimes we do it at night.
Exactly. That's compromise, right? Because it's a conversation, right, and it's about give and take versus me giving up something that is really important for me.
But it's just interesting, the engage with somebody else part of that first question. It's just like, ooh, you just probably feel like, damn, I ain't gonna get that good dick ass no more.
I don't know, like I don't know. For me,
it's like I just want it one more time, just one more time.
Yes.
I don't know. For me, I think you might have to compromise, and you might have to settle for one than the other. Because sometimes the person that you think that's perfect for you may not actually be perfect for you. They may appear to you in a way that you actually need, and you just don't know it. And so you have to adjust and learn to grow to get what you actually need, because there's a lesson within a lesson, you know? So I wouldn't say necessarily it's about compromise. It's about learning, are your priorities necessarily in line? Do you know what you actually want? Or is what you want actually what's best for you? Or are you being selfish and you just want what's shiny and new and afraid to do the work?
Exactly. And that's what goes back to when I was just saying, like, you need to know, honestly, to your deepest core, what you want and what you need that's literally going to allow you to grow and be your best self. That's ultimately what you want.
Yeah.
Like, and if the Dickmatized happens to be on a human being that allows you to grow in other ways as well, that's what everyone's looking for. Everybody's looking for that unicorn, honestly, you know? And I would say keep looking until you find that unicorn, honestly. And don't be afraid and ashamed, especially as one gets older. People feel this societal pressure to fit this norm of, oh, you graduate college, you get a job, you get married, you have your kids, this and this and this and this. And if you're getting older and you're not there yet, you feel this pressure that, oh, I haven't done what everyone else has done. Everyone else's race is not your race, boo. You don't see Usain Bolt.
Can you just say that? Can you say that again?
Yeah, go ahead.
Your race is not everybody else's race. Your race is not everybody else's race at all. You don't see Usain Bolt running marathons, and it doesn't mean that he's not a good runner. You know,
he's just great a different type of good runner. He's just yeah.
I feel like there's so much pressure for people in general, regardless of your sexual orientation. There's so much pressure for people to be in a relationship. And the reality of it is that most of us, and I include myself in this group, most of us don't even know who we are to know enough to know what we want and to be able to give enough out of ourselves so that it helps support, and you're bringing someone and enable and encourage and motivate someone else and build something with someone else. You know, so like this idea that we should all be chasing after relationships as like that's the gold standard, you know, for a happy life is a complete misnomer. It's fabricated. It's not true. It's not necessarily true for everyone. And that brings so much pressure and anxiety and frustration and confusion to so many people because they think that they need to be aspiring to that thing. And then they end up feeling bad. We end up feeling bad because our behavior is not matching up to. We're out there having our good, you know, our hot girl summers, our hot boy summers. We're having our hot boy decades. You know, we're out there doing the things that we want to do, but then we're also like fighting off the guilt that we aren't, you know, like aspiring to be like cuffed up in a relationship. And yes, you know, like I'm in a relationship. The aunties are in relationships, you know, but it doesn't mean that we don't understand that frustration that people feel, like that balance of like, you know, why do I feel guilty for just, I'm being single and mingling and, you know, being experimental or whatever it is that I'm doing. Like, why do I have to feel guilty for that? And I think what I'm trying to say is you shouldn't feel guilty. If you do, that's more a reflection of society's pressures on you more so than your own behaviors. And, if you're in a spirit of compromises or giving up something for, the sake of a relationship, you really have to ask yourself the question of, what is it that you really want to do? And, we're talking about the whole idea of like, Jonathan Van Ness and like these people that are living their truth. Are you living your truth? If you really don't want that, then don't go after it. Continue to live your hot boy summer. But if you want
But see, sometimes it's not necessarily about living your truth. It's also sometimes about just the lack of knowledge. So for instance, the example that I'm going to use right now is one of our earlier episodes. We talked about cancel culture. And y'all know I was the queen of black and white.
Cancel.
Cancel. But did you see? I just
What
gave
was your
an answer.
hashtag?
But I just
Never
gave
let it
an
go?
answer. I just gave an answer about prioritizing and self-checking and digging within. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like sometimes you don't know that your way of thinking isn't necessarily positive or healthy for you.
That's
And
true, too.
so it does take having those conversations, or at least surrounding yourself around those that make your ears perk up and be like, oh, maybe there is something more to it than I thought I knew. Because if we were having the same question beforehand about compromise, I would be like, oh, if that's not what you want, then don't leave
You
it
sure
and go
would've.
for something else.
Come on, Jharrel with the
That
growth.
literally
Come
would
on,
have been my
girl.
answer. It would have been like, if you ain't happy, then go find something that's better.
You sure would've.
But now I can see that sometimes you may not know what you want, and you may have to dig a little deeper to actually find the root to your own happiness,
And that is going to take time too, that you're not going to get everything instantaneously. So it's okay to grow and evolve over time and be fine and comfortable with that. Because I think a lot of times people get scared of that, that you might not be the same today, or you might not be the same tomorrow as you are today. And that's fine. Whatever evolution it is. And if it was one dick that got you dickmatized yesterday, there's going to be another one that gets you dickmatized tomorrow. You see how I moved it back around. Come on now.
This is true. And I'm just saying, Auntie Hennessy over here is a living example of growth on this podcast. So y'all better keep listening because, my ratchet loudmouth ass, I'm like, oh, look at me being all thoughtful and stuff. I went from having like 3 emotions to now I got 7 emotions. Like
exactly.
You learned some stuff on here.
She's grown.
Your auntie's got some stuff, and Auntie Hennessy's over here learning too. So I encourage y'all to learn
day,
too.
Every day.
Look, the grass is greener where I'm at now.
I know that's right. It's greener when you water that bitch. Come on now.
It's green. It's great right now.
Come on, Tony the Tiger.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that's right.
Frosted
like, I'm getting married, so that's why I married my boo. So I enjoy it thoroughly.
More than good. They're great.
See.
So thank you for that question. We enjoyed that. We love these little juicier ones. And I put it up on Insta story. Send us some juicy ones. We like the juicy ones too. It doesn't always have to be heavy. Even though we enjoy the heavies as well. And we got some heavy ones coming up. Woo! That we got to mentally prepare ourselves for.
Right, exactly.
Oh, Jesus. Did you guys get a chance to watch the LGBTQ Forum that was out on YouTube that they did?
I didn't get to watch all of it. I didn't get to watch all of it because I was camping this weekend. And so Dewan wasn't the only one, the man in the woods. It was my first time camping and
really?
And hiking. Oh yeah, like we had to drive. We had to put the car on a ferry and then drive from the ferry 3 hours to where we had to park the car, and then we had to hike 3 miles to the beach that we were sleeping on. So we literally slept on the ocean.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And we got to see bioluminescent waves too. Yes. So like the waves were like blue when they were coming in and everything. It was a great time. It rained like throughout the whole night. And shit got red. And then we were in a tent, but like the weather was just way more intense what the tent can handle. It was my tent at that too. And then when we were hiking the 3 miles back to the car, it downpoured as well. So it didn't matter. Everyone was wet.
Lord.
Everyone was wet. But it was a great time. It was my first hike. It was my first camp. I can now say that I live in the Pacific Northwest because I've done
Oh, you claim that.
because I've done the white people stuff. I've done the white people stuff now. I live here. I'm amongst the white people now. So, it was a great group of white people,
Not a great group of white people.
I can't. I know. I was like, I can't with you.
Oh my goodness.
It was in the sense of that they catered to my black ass and all of my like, well, what about this? What about this? Bear is this. Bitch, we had even like bear containers where you like buy these you rent these containers that bears can't even get in because of the fact that wildlife are that fucking real where we are. Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then you had to hike your ass all the way back.
All the way back. Okay? All the way back. And by the way, when I asked, I was like, oh, like, where you guys going camping up at 10? I'll go too. It was supposed to be a mile hike when I signed up for this. So there was no going back. There was no going back.
Yeah.
Oh, so she was bamboozled.
She was. And Mother Nature
led astray.
led astray. And Mother Nature was like, and on top of that, we're gonna give you this too. But it was a good time. I will do it again next year. I get one hike, one camp a year. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah. I'll be white once a time a year.
Oh, shut up.
Not for Halloween. I won't be white chicks, but I'll be white chicks for camping. Yes. But that's why I was not able to watch the Forum this weekend all the way through. But I did catch some glimpse of it. I don't know.
It was interesting.
It was interesting. But what do you guys think?
I just adore that they thought that they're doing this now, that they at least think, at least for this political cycle, that our vote matters enough that they needed to have a separate forum like this. Some did better than others, and some of the presenters did better than some of the other presenters too. So it at times felt like thrown together because they didn't have that much time to ask each candidate deep, in-depth questions, and they tried to get them to give deep, in-depth answers, but I'm like, you're giving them like 4 minutes for like a spectrum of questions, and you're getting upset that they're not giving you these deep, in-depth answers. Like, that's kind of hard to do. And I get it. They had almost every candidate out there. So it was already over 2 hours long. Right, except for Bernie. We'll get on that.
And Yang.
And so it was just hard, and I get it, just to get everyone in and give them a fair shot to be seen and heard. So I almost felt like they might have needed to do it over 2 days or something like that. And then B...
I heard there was multiple. I heard there's going to be 2.
Is there another one? I don't know.
There is another one. Yes, because both Bernie and Andrew Yang won't be at either of them.
At either one of them. Yeah.
Neither one of us. So who did good? Corey did good. I thought Elizabeth Warren did good. I thought Kamala did good. Kamala and the old girl kind of got a little testy there. Then the rest of them kind of, even Pete Buttigieg being gay did so. I want to boo the judge, but he did okay. Like he's just interesting. Like for an LGBTQ member, he's part of us. You would have thought that would have been an opportunity for him to really, really shine and leap above everyone else, and he didn't.
I didn't think that. I didn't think that was going to be the case.
No.
Yes. And I say that because I think about you and be like, well, he didn't say what he needed to say. And, I'm still waiting on that apology.
I'm still waiting. I am.
But like, I knew that this was like a setup against him because this, people think like, well, because he's gay, all the gays are supposed to love him. But this was one of those highlights that put on the spotlight that being gay is not just being gay. There's so much more to it. There are ethnicities, there are, ages. Like, there's so much more to it. There's trans, lesbian. There's a whole spectrum of it as well, too.
Yes.
And so I felt like this was set up for him to be like, oh yeah, he's this great guy, but he also doesn't have enough policies for the subgroups of the LGBTQIA plus, and it pointed out the racial divide within our community, and
the racial and just the sexual orientation divide. That's
right. And I felt like that's exactly where he felt it. And if anything, it was a great time for him to be like, okay, cool. I did not do this for my own people that I'm supposed to be part of in the community. This is where I need to do better. But like you said, the fact being that he's a mayor of a city that has a lot of Black folks, and he didn't handle that either. I don't think he will handle that part either as well. And that's why I'm one of the gay people who have not been jumping on the whole Pete Buttigieg bandwagon just because of the fact that he's gay.
I think he just needs more time and experience. He needs to bake a little longer. He needs a little more life experiences.
Like, what's his name? What's the other guy from Texas?
Beto
O'Rourke. He wasn't
there either. Now that they got it.
Yeah, but he's another one of those candidates that need to bake a
more
little
time.
bit. Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. The one thing I will say that Buttigieg, that is one of the things that I don't know if I've preached it on here, but I preach in my personal life. Mm-hmm. Is the craziness surrounding the American Heart Association and the FDA not allowing gays to donate blood regularly. Mm-hmm. You have to have. Now, it used to be a lifetime ban. Now is you have to wait a year after you have sex with a man. And when is that going to happen in our community? Honestly, it's far and few between. But I just feel like those rules are so outdated, especially with the way science is today, that we literally check the blood. You check the blood for everything anyway. So if your thought process is that every gay man has HIV and things like that, you're checking the blood anyway, nonetheless, and you're literally missing out on a huge subset of culture and society that's able to donate blood. Mm-hmm. Like, they used to call me all the time to donate blood. But over time as I've been out and they must have found out that I'm out, I don't get that because I guess my blood is a rare type of blood. I forget what I even have. But before I came out, I was able to donate regularly. And now it's just so bizarre to me that you literally are always calling for needing blood and you can't do it. So that's one point that I was glad he did bring up during his talk, because that's such outdated thought process and rules for donating. Yeah. So that was a highlight, at least for Pete. I will give him credit where credit's due when I need to. What were you thinking about it, Dwan?
I'm finding the whole debate forum format to be just non-productive.
I agree.
To be honest with you. I feel like, it's great that you get some face time with some of the candidates, but the way that all of them are using the time is really pointless. Mm-hmm. They spend more than half of their time talking about things that happened in the past that have no relevance whatsoever to what they believe today and how they vote today and what their political stance are today. So it's all like defending their past, defending what they did, defending what they thought, defending what they said.
Do you think that's partly because of the questions they're getting asked as well? Because it seems like a lot of the questions are constantly, because even in this one, it's both sides of the equation.
That's what I'm saying. It's the whole format. The moderator asks a question to all candidates that says, back in, March 26th of 1892, Joe Biden, you supported the crime bill. And, do you believe that was the right decision? And then the whole conversation, everybody's sound bites are about some shit that happened 45 years ago, not about what is going on today. Mm-hmm. And so that's problematic number one. Problematic number two is now everybody's looking for moments to shine. So they're looking for their little quick like jab at the other person to take away, like to show that they're vulnerable or whatever. And we saw that first with Kamala Harris and, the first
Joe
debates with,
Biden.
her jab against Joe Biden. We've seen that in other debates, and we see it all the time. The reason that Kamala and old girl got into it was because old girl went after her in her last debate. So Kamala had to come back. So it's just like
Kamala got into it with
the
moderator. She didn't get into it with the other person.
Right,
yeah.
Right. Yes. But the point of it is that I find it problematic because the things that we really need for them to be talking about, which are the things that are really issues driven, they don't even get to really talk about it. It becomes such a minor part of the conversation. It becomes the afterthought as opposed to the primary reason why they're there. And the other thing that I find it problematic is at the end of the day, I don't give a damn who gets the nomination from the Democratic side.
Right.
I'm going to support them. So it's like, at the end of the day, like going at it and having an opinion about, what Pete said and what Kamala said and what Joe said and what Sanders said and who showed up to this. I don't really care. At the end of the day, whoever gets that blue nomination, I want everybody to throw their support in there because we have too much to lose if we start getting sidestepped.
No, you're right on that. And I will say I did like the forum approach in theory better than the debate style because it individually highlighted each candidate better than them just going after each other. At least there seemed to be more, they tried to have it more individual questions and things like that. But I just think it was just too long for the one day. It had to be split up. It was just too many candidates. But I agree with
Let me ask you this question, though. Let me ask you this question. Have the debates so far influenced who you will vote for at the end of the day when it comes time to vote for the Democratic nominee?
Well, for the primary, yes. I would say this last forum helped me a lot more than... That's what I was saying. The forum, the LGBTQ forum format, in theory... to me is better than the debate style that was on like ABC and CNN, because instead of having all 10 candidates on stage going back and forth, at least the forum is literally the moderator, like the person asking the question, and one of the candidates. It wasn't all of them on stage at a time. So it allowed them to hit on their points a little better, but the time was just so short for each person that it was impossible for them to go in depth. Over time, though, it has helped me clarify who I ideally would want for a primary to be nominated. But like you just said, at the end of the day, I don't give a damn who's going to get nominated from Democratic because we got to get old boy out the White House. So this was kind of a unique situation versus previous elections for me. But at the end of the day, it could be my shoe. And if my shoe is up there getting nominated, I'm voting for my damn shoe. So
I can tell you in all honesty, none of these debates and none of the rhetoric that I've heard from any of the candidates has influenced like me and saying I need to vote for this person or that person.
I agree.
And emotionally, I'm not even tied to the decision. Like at the end of the day, it's like, I don't care who gets it. I'm going to vote. I'm going to.
No one has my vote at this point. Like it's still up. They need to keep working for it.
Is there a way and I know we're getting later in the episode and I don't know how long, if this is going to open up another path, but is there a better way that you foresee that would work better than a debate style?
Let's see how these transcripts. Let's see how these transcripts come out, and what happens with this whole process of possible impeachment. And
we're 45.
We're 45 right now because, to be honest, that could tip the balance. It could tip the balance because of the fact that if it happens, then there has to be another representative for the Republican Party, which I don't know if legally it's supposed to be the vice president or if they're supposed.
Technically, it goes president to vice president. Then if the vice president is unable to serve, then it goes to the Speaker of the House.
Right, exactly. Which at this point, the vice president, I mean, people ain't looking, they ain't checking for him. And I think that's another reason why he's kept his mouth so shut, because of the fact that Trump has been digging himself a hole. And if it ever happened, it would be easier for him to be that nomination. Mm-hmm. Way more easier. And if anyone, I'm from Indiana. I know how Mike Pence runs shit. it ain't good for everybody. And he's talking about bringing back like conversion therapy and all the rest of that shit too. Because that's because he believes that in Indiana. That's why it's awesome that there's a gay person running for governor now for the state of Indiana, and it's the first time ever. So I don't know. I don't think there's a way for anybody to necessarily do one thing over the other to change my vote. It's going to come down to time. But right now, it just feels like every time we're talking about the Democratic Party, it's about just fighting each other. It just feels like a gauntlet. And it's like, why do we have to fight each other to fight our enemy? Why can't we band together to defeat our enemy? And that's why I love watching The View. And Whoopi Goldberg's whole point is like, no one's plan or no one's thought is like perfect. There's some good here, there's some good there, there's some good there, there's some good there. But how come as a party we can't bring all those good ideas and come together for one thing and have one person represent all of that? Why do we have to divide within our own party?
I don't have an answer. I don't think we'll ever really have a answer that'll satisfy everyone. But I think what people are tired of is a lot of the negativity from a leadership perspective that our current person that occupies the White House is bringing to the table. And even within the Democratic Party, there are people that are extreme leftists. There are people that are, truly independent, who, are in, kind of like the Democratic Party or whatever, because that's essentially the only way that their vote will ever be heard.
Right.
I feel like we're always going to be in a situation where we're going to be fighting for our voices to be heard. I would love to see someone whose agenda and personality are synchronous with something that we saw with Obama, which is somebody that works bipartisan. I don't know how to say it. Works across party lines.
Across party lines.
I was like bipartisanshiply. Right, across party lines. But somebody who is intentional about working across party lines and being truly idea focused versus versus kind of like party focused. I was watching this video that, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember who the moderator was, but it was a video that Dave Chappelle had did. And it was a question about, kind of like what's wrong with the Democratic Party and kind of like using kind of like Kanye West and his kind of like support of the Republican Party as kind of like an idea, like, do we need to be switching? And what I appreciated, regardless of how one feels about Dave Chappelle, and I know we talked about him in the last episode, but I think one of the things that I really appreciate about what he said in that video was that we need to be less focused on, party lines and more focused on ideas. Like who's bringing progressive ideas to the table. And it doesn't matter what party you come from, but if you're bringing ideas to the table that's going to help us grow our economy, but not at the expense of sacrificing our like the climate or sacrificing parts of our economy or sacrifice, there are ways to get that stuff done. And it's about surfacing up the ideas and really kind of pushing ideas forward and focusing on who has the ideas versus the ones that are just status quo.
I think it's easier said than done, honestly, because you still have people that care more about their ego. You have people that still care more about money. And as long as that's out there, I don't foresee everyone ultimately agreeing about things that really need to get done. Because if that's the case, we wouldn't have climate change issues. We wouldn't have as much people in segregated communities and poor and things like that. So I ideally think that's where we need to go.
We got children right now fighting the fight on climate change, suing fucking countries who, guess what? They don't got that fucking money. And so they still make those decisions. And you are right. I do think it comes down to a point of people's personal lifestyles and what they want out of life. But if we take a book from these children who are fighting the fucking good fight, there's no reason why children can do it and grown fucking adults can't do it.
You know what's interesting about this whole thing that's happening right now is that it's less about getting people to agree, because we all know that you are never, ever, ever going to get everybody to agree on one thing or anything. That's just never going to happen. So let's just not even go down that path. But the interesting thing is, who has the courage? Who has the courage to make the difficult decisions? And what we're seeing with these children, like the young girl from Sweden who's like making the news rounds right now, is that she doesn't have anything to, well, let me rephrase. She does have something to lose, but she has courage she has courage and conviction to be able to make the right choice for the world, not self-serving. And what we see with a lot of our leaders and political leaders, and economic leaders, business owners, is that they're making self-serving choices and not having the courage to do the thing that is absolutely the right thing to do.
And that's where I was going with the ego
Whether you agree with it or not, it's like you need to know what the right thing to do is, and you need to have the courage to do it.
And that's where I was going with the ego thing. Like, a lot of times, especially in politics, for some reason, politics has gotten to the point where it's more about ego and who has the biggest ego out there than really helping the people of the country. Like, it started off, even from the inception of the country, it wasn't always the purest of thoughts, but at least it was maybe in some instances a little more pure than today, where it was trying to represent, at least for them, it was the white men probably, but at least they were trying to represent their fellow white men. And today, it kind of feels like it's just literally, how much money can I keep in my pocket? And how can I keep this ego of mine in check? Or not even in check, but how can I keep this ego of mine and not even care about what stuff that really needs to get done?
The problem we see today is that we have lost. Listen, we've always had corruption within the government, and our country was founded on principles of inhumanity. So that's just the foundation on which we were built. But there has also been ideals of morality and justice. And what we're seeing now, which is very different than what we've seen in years past, is we've seen an abuse of our judicial system, of our legal system, of our government in total, where we have gerrymandering to get certain kind of people elected. We have, no real confidence in the electoral process at all, because we've had people interfere. And quite frankly, the fact that we still have, just sidebar, the fact that we still have, non-electronic votes, paper ballots out there, the fact that you can't actually vote from your phone, but you can do taxes from your phone is an outrage. Damn. It's an absolute outrage. The fact that we have to have conversations around who has the right to vote. Do people who are incarcerated not have the ability to vote? They live in this country, don't they? So, like, the fact that we don't hold today the right to vote as high of an esteem as those that have died for it to exercise their right is an absolute shame. But what we're seeing in our government today is a complete erosion of the checks and balances that ensure that our government is working for the greater good. And now we are seeing much more of those self-serving interests starting to operate more freely and openly and without regard for the impact to the American people and
not
world.
Just be a Debbie Downer, but just even dive in a little deeper. I believe there was a young Native American woman or a young lady who had originally...
I posted on Insta story.
Yeah. What was her name? Autumn,
I believe.
Yeah.
She was a Native American, and she's been preaching about climate change for a while.
Forever.
And it just sucks that it took... I'm sorry, I stole your story.
Yeah, but it took for a young white girl to say
from
Sweden to say something for people to start giving a damn. There is a system within a fucking system at that too, And so, for our non-POC listeners who are listening still right now, like and especially those that are fighting the good fight, know that you're fighting only one level of the fight, you know, and that you understand only the surface level of the point until you understand that there are other people in
There's
the
a
POC
matrix
community.
inside the matrix.
Yeah, exactly. Of trying to get shit to fucking work, you know.
But keep speaking up because clearly they're listening to you guys and not us. So.
I was about to say that. Those are the voices that get heard. Those are the voices that get
however
heard.
we need to get there at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
At this point, however we need to get there, at any means, by any means necessary.
Absolutely.
So keep speaking up. Keep getting out there and speaking up because we need you. And if you haven't registered to vote, I speak it every time, every episode. And the other day was National Registration Day.
Mm-hmm.
So put that out. We put that on our social media. But if you don't know where to go to vote.org, go to vote.gov. You could go to yahoo.turbo.gov if I'm not mistaken. But make sure you're checking that you're still active status, because I just know living here in Atlanta, it's been a big thing where they're literally purging records of people voting because either they voted 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and they haven't lately. So they're like, oh, you're no longer active. So they're literally taking you out of the registration. And people have shown up day of to vote, and it's showing them inactive, and it's causing this big hoopla. Also, if you've moved, maybe they have your old address in the system, and if that doesn't match up to your license and things like that. So double check this. 2020 is such a huge year. So do the due diligence now, so you're not hustling and bustling when it gets closer to 2020 in November.
All I'm saying is, don't follow us if you ain't voting. If you ain't registered to vote and you ain't doing your due diligence, don't follow. No.
I mean, you can follow us, but don't yell at us. Don't speak up. Like, don't yell. We need the numbers.
Auntie Hennessy says a no. Auntie Hennessy says a hard ass no. Because if we're gonna be fighting the good fight, what you doing by not voting is fighting against us. So I'm not pushing no bowl up no damn hill. Get off the fucking hill.
Oh. And that's how we're going to end this episode. Communities, keep subscribing, keep sharing with your friends. And I guess we'll see you. Oh, and you know what? We ran out of time for Beyonce and Solange this episode, but we'll try again next week.
Next week. There's always room. All right, bye, y'all.
You guys
have a good week.